Hello and welcome to GK videos. In this video I'm going to discuss about the latest firmware 4.1 on px4 300D device. So let us get started. For my video purpose I'm using a px4 300D device with the IP address 192.168.0.15, and I have recently upgraded my firmware from 4.0.x to 4.1. So those who are using 4.0, just for information that 4.1 comes with the extra security. So if you're upgrading your device from 4.0 to 4.1, all your shares which are having everyone access will be restricted to the administrator of the device. Or maybe if you do not have any administrator username and password already set, it would prompt you to first create the account and then it will let you log in. So let me just log into the NAS web console. Alright, you can see if you are using the older version, so there is a slight different about the interface what we see, and the icons what we see are completely different. So let me go to all features. Well, the features and the options will remain same. However, the icons what we see and the interface what we see now is completely different than the earlier version, which is 4.0.8 was the last version. Then the 4.1 was released. So the first option what I see is the application manager. So here you can install all the applications using this tool, like all the SDK apps provided by Lenovo, or maybe you can customize SDK apps if you're a developer, and you can install those apps using the application manager software. So as you can see, the LenovoEMC support, this is a by default application which comes along with 4.1 version. If I don't want, I can delete this as well. The second one is configuration, backup and restore software. Well, this tool will be useful, very useful I would say, in terms of configuration restore. For example, you have a couple of devices you bought from Lenovo, and you want to have the same identical configuration across all the devices. Let's say for example the RAID configuration and the local user accounts, the share names and the access permission for each share. So in that case what you can do, you can configure one particular device and take a backup of the configuration, and then you can access the second device, the new device, and you can restore the configuration. You can browse it, restore and apply, and the settings from your primary or maybe from the first device will be applied to the second device, or so on. Well, that is one case study. And the second one where if you have a backup of the configuration, and let's say if your device got crashed or the OS has corrupted and you have contacted the support, maybe they would troubleshoot, or they would give you the imager or replace the entire device. In that case, once you get a replacement, maybe you can use the configuration backup and restore it to your original configuration, whatever you had, including the IP address and other stuff. And the two options what I see here for restore configuration, restore settings, and restore settings and drive configuration. So the restore settings does restore the user information and the share information, access permission, such. And the restore settings and drive configuration where it'll restore everything, the RAID configuration, so all the stuff. Well, the third option I see is content explorer. So this is nothing but mostly if you have multiple shares created and you want to see online what are the contents available on each share. So in my example you can see here the backup directory or the share folder already been selected, and you can see the address book and some data available on it, or the folders. Likewise, if I click on documents, I don't see any documents or any data available. So you can basically find out what data is available, and also you can create folders, or you can you know add any data as well. You can actually upload the data directly online, and you don't have to use UNC path for single files. You want to do it through online, you can do it as well. And you can delete any content of data. For example, you want to delete something here, so you just click on choose on delete, and any of the content you select, it will be deleted. The fourth option is copy jobs. Well, this tool will be useful, and it comes the inbuilt software with device which is being used to copy the data from the client computer to the NAS and vice versa. So it works on both Windows as well as Linux. So you just need to save your data on your network, and you configure you just need to create jobs. You can schedule the jobs as well, so you can set the time frame when you want this particular job to be run, and it will run from the NAS, and the NAS operating system would contact the client and pull up all the data over the network. So for more information about copy job, well, you can go through the documents of Lenovo, but I'm gonna demonstrate that as well in my next videos, maybe a couple of weeks later. Then the other option I see is custom config. The custom config is nothing but it's about the Samba version of custom. So you basically use 3.0 version of Samba, and for example, for any region, any issue occurs while contacting or communicating with Windows operating systems, so that is where this utility is useful, and it will not be available by default, since I was given by the Lenovo support, so I've installed it. So for example, you copy some data on your NAS device, and if the data size mismatches, so this is where it is useful. You just need to change some attributes here, and it will work. And how do you do it? It will be provided the syntax, the steps will be provided by support, and you can actually configure it, but in general case it is not required. The other option I see is date and time. This is where you can change the date and time of your NAS device. So you can also synchronize your NAS with your time server, or maybe you can put it automatically synchronized with the internet time server. You can actually manually also change the IP address, the date and time. Now it comes to the device identification. Here you can actually change the device name, device descriptive name, and if you have any workgroup name, you can change it as well. Earlier, if you have if you are using 4.0, then there is a slight difference. You would see that where the under device identification you have the option of workgroup as well as Active Directory, but now the Active Directory option being taken out, and there is a new icon which is being created or maybe available on the NAS web console, from where you can actually go step by step to integrate the NAS with a Windows domain controller. So the next option which I was talking about, the AD or maybe the Active Directory integration. So this part of the icon which explains about it. So it says domain management. So if you turn it on, and if you have a Windows domain controller in your network, you want to integrate this particular or maybe your NAS device to the domain, and you want to have the users and groups pulled out from the domain controller, you can actually do that by entering your domain name. Domain name could be your domain name, the fully qualified domain name, for example corp.yahoo.com or maybe corp.google.com, something like that. And the preferred server is the Active Directory server, or maybe domain controller server. You can enter the host name of the domain controller. However, I would prefer to have the IP address, in case if the DNS doesn't resolve it, then still your NAS should be able to communicate with the Active Directory server. Organizational unit, it's actually an optional tab, so you don't have to put anything. If you like, you can use the OU group as well. Then the administrator username, password. uh, Again, then it's users, groups, refresh interval. This is where the polling information, for example, you want to have this NAS to communicate every hour to get, or maybe to fetch the data from or the information about users and groups from Active Directory. You can set it. You can set it never, hourly, daily, and weekly. Local network encryption, it's not required because you access it in LAN, but when it comes to remote network encryption, yes, it should be always. And these are by default option, will be selected, but depends on your requirement, you can actually change it. And the last option is enable trusted domain. So the trusted domains, when it comes like two companies merge together, or maybe a joint venture comes up. In our example, I would say yahoo.com and google.com. So if you have, you are working with Google, and you have this device and Yahoo got merged with you, then the Active Directory relation will be changed for both the domain controllers. In that case, what happens if you enable trusted domains? So whatever the other domains you have in your network, the NAS should be able to communicate with those, and it will try to pull out all the user and groups records, and it will show you over here under users and groups icon. And then the available option, it is download client software. So the client software is nothing but Lenovo does provide some of the cool software. So these softwares are useful for with it comes with the different options. For example, the storage manager software. This is a client software which you need to install in your computer, which will help you to discover the device. For example, you have a device of ix2, and let's say you don't know the IP address and you want to know and configure the NAS. You can download this application, and this would help you out discover the NAS IP address. And so the storage connector is again a software which released recently, and it comes along with some Lenovo laptops, I see, and it does also useful to discover the devices. And the other option I see is storage manager with plus Twinkie server. So this Twinkie server is nothing but it is a media server. So what happens is the NAS does has media server. So once you turn it on, the NAS would aggregate all the content about audio videos available in a network which are being shared, and using this Twinkie you can actually access all the audio and video content from one single interface. You can play those online, you can access, and you can listen to music, everything you can do it over one single web interface. So the next one is drive management. So this is where you actually configure the RAID and the write caching, then other stuff. If I go to the settings, I can see that the drive write caching is enabled with UPS, and I can also see the drives available with this device or connected with the device. As I can see that this device came along with 4 drives of Itachi, and there are no hot spares available for me. But for example, you wanna use it in RAID 1 and you wanna use available drives as hot spare, you can actually do it. But in my case, I have already configured the RAID 5 with my device, so I'll not be able to demonstrate that. But if you want to use, for example, you have a px6 device with px6 comes with 6 slots, 6 drives, and you can create actually RAID 5 with 4 drives and remaining 2 as hot spare or something like that. And the SP1 is nothing but the storage pool name, then the protection is RAID 5, the data protection, what it explains to, then the capacity, which is the usable capacity, 2.67 terabyte, and I have already allocated 1.22 terabyte, and the remaining 1.45 TB is free, which I can use if I want. there is one point I missed out. Then if I go to the volumes, I see the volumes being created on the NAS. And if I want to create more volumes, or maybe I want to use this space, the 1.45 terabyte, I can actually do it. I can create one more volume and mention the space whatever I want, and I can create it. And apart from that, this device does come with snapshot features. So you can actually create snapshot for a volume, not for shares but volume. And to use snapshot, you need to have at least of 20% of free space on your device. So what it happens, for example, you have a snapshot, or maybe the volume, let's say for example 1 terabyte. So if you create a snapshot, it's going to take by default 20% of it, which is almost comes around 200 GB space. And you can actually schedule the snapshot as well. If you enable it, it will ask like what days you want to have it. So if you click on all days, it will take snapshot for each day. And it will be useful when you delete any shares or delete any data from these shares. Or for example, you have users who delete the data without without their without the intention to delete, or maybe something like the accidental delete or something like that. So in those cases, you can actually if you have enabled the snapshot, you can actually expose those snapshots and restore the files which are being deleted. So that is to schedule. And just to create a snapshot, you click on here and provide what percentage you wanna reserve with the snapshot. And you can set the snapshot read only, or maybe you can expose the snapshot. So the exposing is nothing but when you access these shares from your UNC path or from run command from Windows, this particular share also will be visible to the users. Then it comes to email notification. This is where you can actually enable the notification from the NAS device to receive any alerts for hardware and software failure. The destination email address, you can provide your email address or a distribution list where you want to have the IT professionals to receive any emails from the NAS. Or you can actually send a test email to check whether you are receiving the emails correctly. Or maybe if you have the SMTP server or maybe Exchange server in your network, you can actually configure it custom, which means you just enable it, enter the SMTP server, then the port of the SMTP server, then the sender email address is from which email address you want to receive the alerts, then the email login of the sender email address and password, confirm the password, apply. So the next option is energy saving. The energy saving is nothing but most of the times what happens is though we use the devices, but sometimes it keeps idle. We don't use it for 24 hours sometimes. So in those cases, we don't want our NAS to consume a lot of energy. So for that, what you can do is you can actually power down the drives. So you can select, for example, if let's say for example you want to set it up for 1 hour. So if I set it for 1 hour, let's say for example, so after 1 hour, what happens, this NAS would wait to see if there are any connections are establishing from clients, or maybe it would wait 1 hour to see if there are any communications or maybe any requests coming from any other client or applications. If not, it will power down the drives. And the indicator brightness is the front LEDs you can see for your device. You can actually put it low, medium or high. So the brightness you can change accordingly. And the enable wake on LAN is something that if you have an application installed in the client application, and you have this device power down the drives, everything, and you want to turn it on, you can actually do it from any client software. But there are some supported softwares which even the couple of softwares which works with the device. You can test it. And the enable device power schedule, this is what you can actually automatically shut down the device and turn on the device, just to make sure that the main source of the power is turned on. Otherwise the device will be not turn on when you schedule it. So if I wanna power it off every day at 6:30, my office gets closed at 6:30, I don't want to shut down the device each time from the web interface. If at all every day I'm asked to shut down the device, I can set it up for 6:30 p.m. and if my office starts morning at 8:30 a.m. sharp and I want this device to be turned on, I can do that and click on apply. So what happens, every day morning I come at 8:30, the device will automatically turn on, and while I leaving by 6:30, I don't have to shut it down, it will automatically shut down the device. So these are the options available under energy savings. Then it comes to event log. This is where all the errors or events will be recorded. Any user events from the web interface will be recorded on these event logs. Any hardware or software changes, anything you do on the NAS device for web interface, everything will be recorded on this event logs. For any error message, you can find it will be in red color, warning will be in yellow, something like that. For any drive issue or something, you would be reported under event logs. Based on that, where you can contact the support. Then it comes to external storage. For example, if you have any USB drive connected to the NAS device, that will be visible here, so you can see the actual storage of the USB drive and the space utilizes and everything. Then the factory reset, this is a dangerous option, I would say, until you've been asked, you don't do it, or maybe I'll just tell you what circumstances you need to perform this. So the factory reset, it says return to original factory configuration. Yes, it does that. It would reset back to factory settings, delete users, passwords and existing data. So the two options available are quickly delete all data and securely delete all data. In quickly delete all the data, what happens, it would erase all the data in maybe a matter of 15 minutes, and after that, for example, you give this device to a data recovery center. The data recovery center should be able to restore the data or recover the data using their tools. And the second option is securely delete all data. It would delete bit by bit, and it will take a lot of time and delete each and every data available on the drives. And if you give this device to a data recovery center, they would also not be able to restore the data or recover the data. So these are the two options, and these will be available will be applicable when you have a project which is complete and you have data and you want to bring this device to factory default. You can actually use the quickly delete or maybe securely delete, depending on the data model or the criticality of the data. Or maybe you've been asked to replace your device by the support or something like that, you can actually erase your data and hand over the device. And you can also set what you want this NAS to do after reset. Maybe if you want to power up this NAS after the reset, it will power off, or maybe you want to have this device to be restarted, you can restart it as well. And the option feature selection, the feature selection option is nothing but whatever the options we see under all features, there are a couple of features which we don't use. For example, I would say the remote access, or maybe the time machine or the support, or let's say for example YouTube or the picture transfer, something like that. So what you basically can do is you can turn it off. Then what happens, it would not be populated under all features. So you can actually customize what options you want to see under all features, and only that options you can see, and you can hide basically the options or the feature icons which you don't want to actually see under all features. So this would help you to customize the applications what you want to use. Then the guided tour is nothing but it would take step by step. It would just give you information like how to configure it or something like that. Then the home page settings. The home page setting is nothing but the moment you turn it on and access your NAS web console, it would actually open up the home page with different slides, or you can also set some shares. You can display the shares, slide shows, stuff like that. And but the disadvantage is the moment you access it, it would show all the shares, everything. That is fine, but in order to get into the management console, you need to click on the settings, which will be available on the top right on the web console. And once you click on the setting, it will open up a new web console, and that's how it goes. And but if you like to have some modified settings or something like, and you can also customize the home page settings. So what you want to see actually, like what folder, or maybe you can actually also change the HTML content what you want to have to open when you access the NAS web, or maybe using the IP address or the web console. Well, for me, I'll just disable it because I don't want this option. Then the iSCSI option, this is where you can turn it on and create iSCSI drives. You can provide the iSCSI name, then the space you want to create it, and click on create. It will create the iSCSI. Then the next available option is language. So this is where you can change the language preferences. You want to have different language other than the English. You can select from the available languages. The media server, what I was discussing earlier. So if you turn it on, it will aggregate all the media content available on the NAS in different shares, and it will actually if you have a 20 media server installed on any client, so it will aggregate every content of audio and video, and it will list under that web page. So for office purpose, this is not required, and it is always should be disabled as recommended by support, because the media server would consume a lot of CPU and memory, and that will slow the device performance. Then the next option is network. This is where you can actually assign the IP address and the DNS server settings, everything. By default, it will be automatically configure the DNS WINS IP address. You want to change it to manual, uncheck this box, and you can enter your desired IP address and change the network settings as per your need. Then it comes to personal cloud. Personal cloud is a cloud-based application where you can actually configure personal cloud on your device, and you can send invitation to your friends or colleagues staying out from your network, and to have access to any data or any share. You can basically provide the access to them. So all they have to do is they just need to download the client software, LenovoEMC storage software, connect it to your personal cloud, and access the shares folder, whatever permission you have provided to them using their credentials. And you can actually configure personal cloud by enabling ports 50500, port 80 and 443 in your public IP address. So what basically you have to do is you need to port forward the ports from your public IP. So if any communication comes to your public IP, that should route these three ports to your NAS IP address, which is the IP address. For example, for me it's the private IP address I have. So if I want to enable the personal cloud, first I need to configure it, and I should enable those ports to communicate with external world. And the other option I have is picture transfer, and this is useful when you have a camera and capture some pictures. You want to transfer directly to the NAS device. You can connect the camera using the USB cable, and you can turn it on and select which share or maybe which folder you want to copy those camera recordings or maybe the pictures, and it will automatically copy those content under any of the share you select. Then the printer, here all the printers you connect with the NAS or maybe any printer you have connected with the NAS will be listed, and it will show the status of the printer as well. Then the protocols option, this is where you can enable and disable any protocol. Apple file protocol for time machine for Mac, Bluetooth, FTP, NFS, rsync, SNMP. SNMP is trap tool where all the alerts will be sent to SMTP trap server. And the rsync, it is useful for device to device replication or maybe for copy job between NAS and Linux client. Then it comes to quick transfer. Well, this is when you configure copy job and you wanna transfer any files directly without running the copy job. You can do that when you connect a USB drive or something. You can actually transfer the files directly to the any desired folder which you have configured already. And this is the security option, so it will be by default enabled for 4.1 series of device or the firmware if you have upgraded. And the local network encryption, it's SSL is not required, and the remote network encryption SSL is always enabled. And if you have any custom certificate or you have bought a certificate from any CA something like that, you can actually import the certificate and load it. Then the setup is nothing but you can just set it up, the step by step. It would ask like next or something like that, the user agreement and stuff like that. And the shares option, here you can actually create these shares. You can actually create share, you can modify any share, you can delete this share, anything you want to do. And you can actually change the permission as well. For access permission, you can, now it's only for admin, you want to give it to everyone, you can, or you want to give it to somebody else, you can also select the user and provide the permission for read or read write. You can actually create new shares and change the volume allocation for any share, stuff like that. Then the software updates, it's nothing but if your device is connected to the NAS device, it will always try to pull up the information if there is any software is available, and from here you can actually upgrade all the softwares for the device. For example, if you are running a lower version of firmware and you wanna upgrade it to latest, you can actually come here. If you have downloaded the version in your desktop, you can click on add software, browse the file and upload the file, and the software will be updated. Then the support, it's nothing but when you click on it, it will route you to the LenovoEMC support site, where you will have a lot of FAQs on how do I install and use product or answer to common questions. You can actually if you have any questions, you can go to more answers and find out what answer you want, or maybe you can find some common issues with the particular device you have. The system status would provide you the status of the space utilization, It would also show the date and time, the version of the firmware or the operating system of the device, the BIOS version, the memory of the device, and the IP address. Then you can see the status. If any hardware failure occurs, you would see the status here. So there is no hardware failure occurred, so I don't see anything here. Then the temperature of the device, fan, then the voltage. So everything is green, so it's fine. If you see anything amber or red, there is a problem and you need to contact the support for assistance. Then the time machine is for the Apple file transfer protocol. It is for Macintosh. You can enable AAP from protocols option, and you can start using it. Time machine is useful to back up your data from Macintosh to the NAS device. Then it comes to UPS management. If you have any UPS connected to the NAS device, it will list down here. It will show the power supply or the battery available on your UPS, stuff like that. And the last option is users and groups. Here you can actually create the users, you can delete users, and you can modify users permissions. So if I click on add a user, it asks for name. The descriptive name can be anything, and the password based on the company policy or something like that you can use. And the user, you want to provide administrator access. If you want to give administrator access, you can check this box, or if it's a normal user account, then you don't have to check it. And the user account, you want to have a secured share for this user. If you click this box, then the moment you create the account, a share with that particular username will be created. And you can create the groups as well, and you can provide the access permission based on the group for any particular share. And you can enable the quota. The enable quota default you can set for all the users, maybe 5 GB or 10 GB, something like that. And all the users should be able to use on basically that much space, not more than that. And that's all pretty much with this device. And one information I want to provide, that initial of the video I've just told you that it's px6 but not px6. It's a px4 device, and unfortunately the last time I was testing, so I just made it px6 300D. So I apologize for that, and I've just changed it back to px4. And as you can see, the description is still a px6 because I've not changed it. I'll change it later as I do testing, so I keep forget to keep the things right. So thank you so much for watching the video, and keep watching for more updates and more videos. Cheers.